Hello, everybody. We are live. Make sure we're all good to go here on the setup. I have to try to lean around here at an uncomfortable angle for my neck to make sure this is filming right. Okay. Let me tilt it down a little bit. There we go. Okay. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back. Started to say for another patron portrait live stream, but today is not a patron portrait live stream. Whoa, there is sound. Why is there sound? Okay. No, don't need sound coming from the live stream. There we go. Okay. So today, I'm not doing the usual patron voted portrait for the live stream. So the reason for that is I have a lot of events coming up in, hello, Alan. I have a lot of events coming up, one coming up at the end of September, and then a couple of festival weekends in October. And hello, Gary. I am trying to get a lot of different projects done before those events. Things for the comic convention, things for the festival weekends, which are more Western themed. So I've got drawings, paintings, and all that jazz that I'm working on, and so that's what we're doing today. This one obviously is very much in progress. I've already done a couple of sessions on it, so that's what we're going to be working on today. Trying to get my screen arranged here so I can see everything. There we go. I have to be able to see my reference picture here. So yeah, no guarantees that I will be finishing this today. Probably not. But I just wanted to stream some of the progress of it and hang out with you guys today. I was like, I'm gonna be sitting there working on it anyway, so why not just stream and hang out with you guys for a little bit. Let me know how y'all are doing today. How's your week going? As usual here for me, it is crazy busy. Just, trying to keep your head above the water, trying to stay caught up on everything. But I did film a movie reaction yesterday, this month's patron requested movie. I watched To Kill a Mockingbird for the first time yesterday and loved it. It'll be going up not this Friday, but the next Friday on my channel and Patreon. Oh, you're gonna enjoy it, Alan. I think it's going to be a really fun reaction to watch. I know Daniel will do his editing magic and it'll be great. I'm really glad you enjoyed Ghost. Sometimes you can just feel it when you're filming a reaction and everything's just like clicking and jiving. That was how I felt with Ghost. It was just a movie I immediately connected with so strongly and continued to throughout the movie. So I felt like when I was watching it, I was like, this is going to be a good reaction. This is going to be a fun one because I'm just connecting with this movie so much and there's so many good, there's jump scares, there's like reveals and just moments that, it's the perfect movie to react to with all the feels and yeah, a lot of tense and suspenseful moments. It keeps you on the edge of your seat for sure. I could not believe that yesterday was my last reaction before Madtober. It just blows my mind every year when I get to October. I'm like, how is it October already? I just can't fathom it. Like it seems like it was just January or February. It's wild how that happens. You're like, where did the year go? I don't know. Gone. Before you know it, it'll be Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and you're gonna be like, what? I'm really looking forward to this year's Madtober. I say that every year because I always have so much fun with it. But yeah, I've got some exciting and scary picks planned for this year. My brother and my sister-in-law talked me into putting a movie on one of the polls that I said I would never watch, and they talked me into it. I hope I don't regret it. I mean, assuming it wins the poll, it might not win the poll, so who knows? I get it, Alan. Don't blame you. I'm very particular. I'm very particular about my scary flicks. There's kind of a certain level that I can handle, and then once it goes beyond that level, I'm just like, no, not even putting that on a poll because I don't want to risk having to watch it. But they convinced me that this one particular movie is not as bad as I think it is, and I'll be fine. But I'm also like, are they just trying to get me to watch it so they can laugh at my reaction? I don't know. So one event I was going to tell you all about that I'm doing this year, and it'll be my first time doing it, is I'll be doing a cowboy festival weekend, which obviously is right up my alley. So be doing drawings and stuff like this to take there. So excited about it because I've never gotten to go before, and it'll be fun. It's a local event, so not having to travel for it, but yeah, cowboy weekend. It's like kind of tombstone themed, I believe. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. I was like, cowboy weekend, sign me up. So October's gonna be busy. Cowboy weekend is like early in October, and then there's the fall festival, which is more like at the end of October. So there's also gonna be Halloween. There's gonna be a lot going on. Gary, I don't know. I don't know. I'm quite terrified of spiders. Like, really bad. You might say I have arachnophobia. They freak me out. I can kill them if they're small enough. I can smush them. But when they're really big, I just freak out. I've tried to get better in recent years at killing bugs and not just always trying to get someone to do it for me. But man, I hate them. I have gotten better at it because I discovered this amazing electronic device that I call my bug killer. And it's like a giant fly swatter, but it electrocutes bugs on contact. You have to like hold down the charge button and everything. And when you have to like, you don't hit them with it. You like push it against them and it electrocutes them and they die. I know it sounds cruel, but you know what? Survival of the fittest, okay? Like, they invade my home, like, I have a right to kill them, okay? So anyway, it is my favorite weapon of choice now whenever I see an undesirable insect, such as a spider or, heaven forbid, a roach. That is my go-to weapon. Don't tase me, bro. Yeah, I've tased a lot of bugs. I'm not gonna lie to you. The count has gone up in recent years. I don't know how long I've had my bug killing device. Maybe, probably like 4 or 5 years now. I've had it a good while and haven't had to replace it yet. So kudos to the makers of that device. But yeah, that device gave me a brand new confidence when killing bugs, because what I didn't like before is, I had to grab like a shoe or something to smush it with, and I didn't like the proximity required to use a shoe. You gotta get really close, and then if you miss, they can like run and attack you. So my bug killer is like, it has like a 2-foot long handle on it, so I really prefer that level of distance between me and my target, so I don't have to put my hand right there by it. Much more preferable. And how did I get off on this tangent? I don't even know. It's one thing I very much look forward to about fall, winter, the cold season, is that the bugs go away. You don't have to deal with nearly as many of them as we do like during spring and summer. So I am very much looking forward to that. I think one of the most traumatic bug experiences that has ever happened to me was out on a trail ride one time. We were riding through the woods, and this all of a sudden, like, there's the spiders. I'm telling you guys, the spiders have it out for us, okay? They have an agenda. They build webs across the path, like from tree to tree. So you have to ride through them. You have no choice. They're like right at body and head level when you're on a horse. And I'm just like, oh gosh. So you ride through it, you're already kind of nervous. And then one time I looked down after riding through a giant web, and there is like this huge fat spider that's like bright orange. I kid you not. It was like one of those tropical colored spiders is sitting on my thigh. And I freaked out, man. Like, you had to stay kind of calm because you're on a horse. You don't want to scare the horse, but you know how like your hand just moves and like with supernatural speed when something like that happens. I swatted that thing off my leg. Ooh. It was one of the biggest spiders I've ever seen. And I hope I never see it again. Ooh. Still freaks me out to talk about it. But I swatted him off and never saw him again, so I don't know if he survived or if I like karate chopped him. I don't know. Oh, cool, Alan. Your brother did leather tooling. That is a skill I do not have, but really respect. Oh, he did a western scene with horses fending off a mountain lion in a western mountainous landscape. Wow. Yeah, I love leather-made goods, like purses and all the different little casings they make for things like knives and all sorts of things. It's just so impressive every time I see them. I'm like, oh man, amazing. Oh no. He imagined an extra joint in the stallion's foreleg, which he raised at an impossible angle. You know what? It happens to the best of us, Alan. For me, it's hands. You got to be really careful with hands because they seem so normal when we look at them in real life, but when you're drawing them, you're like, you gotta keep track of all the different joints and how they bend and the length of your fingers and all of that kind of stuff. And like, even like AI has not figured out hands yet. You look at anything AI generated and it really struggles with hands. It'll like add an extra finger. It's funny. But to the AI's credit, hands are hard. Hands and feet. Feet, not quite as much. Luckily, I grew up drawing so many horses that I kind of just got their anatomy memorized. Like I drew so many of them that I learned their how their legs are structured and the joints in them and how they bend and everything. And just being around them too, growing up, helped a lot with that. So that even when there's like if part of them is missing in a photograph, like it's cropped out or things are at a weird angle, I can kind of figure out what's going on there anatomically just because I know how it's supposed to be. So that helps a lot because it can be confusing. Oh, I did want to remind anyone watching, if you would like to get a signed copy of Cimarron Dove and you haven't ordered yours yet, be sure to do that because I'm going to be doing that online live streamed signing early in October. So be sure to get your order in. There's a very limited number of copies, but there are still some left. There are paperbacks and hardcovers. So if you want to grab your signed copy and you haven't yet, be sure to head on over to my website, MadisonTames.com, and I put it in the merch section, the signed copies of Cimarron Dove. So you can order on there. And I finally got the issue resolved too, where people were only able to order using PayPal. So I got that resolved yesterday to where you can order just with your credit card or whatever, and you don't have to use PayPal. So that issue has been fixed. It's all sorted out, thank goodness. Oh wow, Alan, both of your brothers were professional artists. Amazing. You can't even draw a bat. I feel like my brother could have been an artist. He just didn't have the love and the passion for it. It wasn't what he wanted to do, but we always grew up drawing together, like just coloring pictures and stuff, and he was pretty good. I think if he had really worked at it, I think maybe he could have been a professional artist too. Oh yeah, Gary. Uh, I've fallen off more than I've been thrown, like just growing up as a kid when I was learning how to ride, just weird stuff happens and you fall off. Uh, I would say I've been thrown off a horse one time. Last September. It's been a year ago. Yep. That was the first time I'd ever been bucked off a horse. All the other times I just fell off. And last September, that was when I broke my toe, my big toe. First time I'd ever broken a bone. Can't believe I made it that far. But yeah, I made it to 27 years old before I broke a bone. I was hoping to keep that streak going, but it was not to be. Yeah, last year at Alabama Comic-Con, I was in a walking boot. That sucked. Luckily this year, I will be walking around unhindered. That was terrible. I did get sympathy from the celebrities I met, though, so that was nice. we had something to talk about. Oh, I also wanted to update you guys. I keep trying to remember everything I haven't updated you guys on yet. I have added lots of new stuff in my store, including some merch. So I have officially added prints of my rodeo paintings. Those are available in my MadisonTames.com store, as well as my Etsy store. I sell in both of those places. So I'm just doing prints on paper, not on canvas. I want to preserve the value of the originals as much as possible, so I'm just doing prints on paper, but those are available framed and unframed and in a couple of different sizes, depending on what the size of the original painting was. I've also added stuff in the merch section, and I've got another shirt in the works as well, a few things actually. But I've got a brand new Let's Rodeo t-shirt. I've got MKT brand stickers, which they come in various sizes. You can get like a small one for your laptop, or you can get a big one for your car because they're printed on vinyl. I really like those. And I also did a sticker for the Let's Rodeo design. Let's see what else. Oh, there are MKT logo shirts. And the ones I have available right now are like small. They have the brand kind of small on like where a pocket would be, like on your chest on one side. But I'm also working on another MKT brand shirt where it's like big and it's in the middle of the t-shirt on the front. So there will be kind of different variations for people who want like a smaller, more subtle one. And then for those who want it just like big and central on the t-shirt, there will be both variations. So yeah, I've been working on lots of different merch stuff and just updating the store with prints of the paintings and all that good stuff. Been very busy lately. There's a lot to do, y'all. So much. Been trying really hard to get everything updated though, because I know like Black Friday is coming and the madness of that, and Christmas, people will be wanting Christmas presents, and yeah, when you're an artist, small business, you gotta get ready for the holiday season. I need to get some Cimarron Dove merch added too, because I haven't even done that yet. Goodness. Shout out to a rodeo photographer friend of mine, Nathan Meyer, who's letting me use this photo of his for this drawing. He takes such amazing photos. Glad you're enjoying Cimarron Dove, Alan. Yeah, I definitely don't want to spoil anyone who is watching now or may watch later. But yes, there is part 3. Part 3 is coming. Now that I finally got Cimarron Dove out in the world, I can fully move on and start working on part 3. I planned a lot of part 3 while I was working on Cimarron Dove because they're so intertwined. So I kind of had to have book 3 in mind already to set up everything. But yeah, still got to sit down and do the like official outline. As I mentioned in my Cimarron Dove launch day live stream, I do always have the beginning and the end in mind. Like I already had the beginning and end of part 3 in mind while I was writing part 2, because that's just how my brain works. But yeah, still got to plan and outline everything in the middle. So that's the next step for me before I start writing. And I've got to research, because I always, before I start one of my Westerns, I do a lot of research, because I have to research locations, like what towns do I want to use, studying the history of certain things and different cultures and places and what was happening when and where. So really, I have to do so much research every time to try to make sure I don't mess anything up, like historically. Oh yeah, Gary. The sales have been coming in, and I've been very happy to see them. And very happy to hear from people who have already finished the book and they really enjoyed it. That's always what you hope to hear. You know inevitably that not everyone's going to enjoy it, but you hope that as many people as possible enjoy it. Alan, I just looked back at your comment, and did you mean you had already finished them, Rhonda? I don't know why when I was reading it the first time, I thought you said you were like reading it, but you haven't finished yet. But have you finished? Oh, okay, you did finish. Awesome. If you wouldn't mind leaving a review on Amazon, I would really appreciate it. Even if you have some criticisms, that is okay. Or parts you didn't like, that's fine. I promise I will not hate you. I just really appreciate any and all reviews, because they are so helpful for just boosting the book and the algorithm and getting people to find it. They're just really, really important. Even if you just want to do a rating, lots of people just do star ratings and they don't even write anything, which is fine with me. Everything helps. Every little bit helps. Oh, it's so hard. I wish we could talk details, but we can't. We can't spoil the people who have not read. Thanks, Alan. I appreciate it, and I'm so glad you're still all in on the series. You gotta trust me, Alan. I don't know if you guys were affected at all where you were, but like last week, we just had like monsoon levels of rain coming through with, I think it was called Francine, Hurricane Francine. It was wild. Or maybe that's the new one. I get confused. There's so many hurricanes and storms happening. There was one that like passed through, and I think it kind of hit Texas, and it was just crazy amounts of rain here for a few days, and it's finally sunny out again, and I think there might be another storm forming in the Gulf now. Hopefully it won't hit us too hard. But man, the wind gusts were the crazy part. The rain is like whatever, but those straight line winds, they're scary when you have a lot of trees and you're like hoping one doesn't fall on your house. I'm working right now, Gary. I work from morning until evening. Obviously, I take some breaks in between, like lunch breaks and all that, but I work from morning, pretty much right after breakfast, until evening when I stop for dinner. Sometimes I'll work after that, depending on what all I have to do. When you're an entrepreneur, like self-employed, doing everything yourself, you're working all the time. You're always on the clock. You don't just get to clock in at, like 9 to 5 and then you're done. There's no set times. You have to be disciplined because you set your own schedule. And yeah, so I just work as much as I can without overworking. Because obviously, like with art and stuff, your hand will get tired if you overwork it. And I'm thinking of longevity. I very much have longevity in mind, so I try not to overwork and do too much art or anything in one day. Flooding's not a concern for the house, but flooding is a concern for the roads. You were worried about the power going out. Yeah, our power flickered, but it did not go out. Yes, it is a rolled up cuff on the jeans, and I don't know if that was intentional or not, because sometimes, like when you're just doing intense stuff on horseback, your jeans get pushed up and wrinkled up or rolled up, so I don't know if that was a choice on the part of the rider or if it just happened while she was doing her event. Interesting question, though. You never know. I know that happens to me when I'm riding, though. If I'm wearing jeans that are a little like shorter, they'll get like bunched up just over the course of riding when you're doing different stuff, especially if you're doing like high energy activity. Every now and then in a rodeo, you'll see a cowboy lose his boot. And it always reminds me of the time when I started to say I fell off, but my friend pulled me off of a horse and my boot went flying over my head. I always remember that bizarre image of like falling and I was staring up at the sky as I was falling and my boot just went woo like over my head. And I was like, what is that? How did that happen? Yeah, I agree, Alan. I like it too for that reason. I should say I don't my friend did not intentionally pull me off the horse, let me clarify. We were practicing for a local event where okay, so I was the rider and she was the one standing on a platform at the end of the arena, a couple feet off the ground. And what you do is the rider runs in on the horse. You run over and your partner's here, you ride up and you go around and you reach down and they swing up onto the back of the saddle with you and then you run out of the arena. Didn't go that way. I ran in, I picked her up and she couldn't swing onto the saddle, or not onto the saddle, she was sitting behind me. So I was in the saddle and she was supposed to sit on the horse behind me. She didn't make it. So she slid off and she was still holding on to me and pulled me off with her. And there we both were, laying in the dust. That was the only time we did it. My mom was horrified. She was like, I don't want you doing this event. And so I was a young kid, so I never did it again. I wish I had, though, because it would have been fun. But sometimes, like, your parents lay down the law and you're a young kid, what can you do? No, Gary, there was no recording of that event. There weren't really, I mean, there were obviously not like iPhones back in the day and stuff. And we were just practicing. It was the first time we had ever done it. So we weren't actually competing yet or anything. So there was no video recording of that incident. My only incident that has ever been recorded was my dad just so happened to be filming last year when I got bucked off the horse. Really bad timing. Yeah, I believe that's the only time one of my incidents has ever been caught on camera. It was from really far away, though. He was probably like 50, 60 yards away, so couldn't see that well. Let me tell y'all, adrenaline is a weird thing. Like, when you think back on it, and I think about the fact that I walked 50 yards or 60 yards on a broken big toe. I mean, it hurt like crap. but I didn't think it was broken. I don't know why. I just didn't conceive of that. I don't know. Adrenaline's weird, and I walked that far on it, but by the time I got back to the path, because I was way off the path, I was out in a pasture. By the time I got there, my foot was killing me, and I just really wanted to sit down, like I didn't want to walk on it anymore. Turns out there was a reason for that. But as I later realized, again, adrenaline, I still don't know to this day if I just hyperextended the ligaments or whatever, the tendons at the front of my ankle, or if I like tore something. I don't know. The doctors could never tell me. I don't think anything was torn, but I don't know that for sure. I think I just hyperextended my foot, and that was honestly just as bad as the broken big toe. Because by the time I got home, my parents had to carry me into the house. One of those very humiliating moments. Because by the time I got home, you know, the adrenaline had worn off and everything, and I could not walk on my foot at all. And it wasn't because of my toe, because if it was just my toe, I could have like walked on my heel, you know? But I couldn't do that. I couldn't put any weight on my foot at all. It was like if I did, my foot, like my ankle would just buckle on the front. Like it was just terrible pain. So anyway, that was awful. And yeah, it was a few weeks like where I just couldn't. I was hobbling around everywhere. I had crutches for a few days, and then I got really sick of that. I hated the crutches, and that was when I had to get the walking boot. It was awful. Yeah, for the most part, everything has healed 1 year later, but sometimes I'll just get like a weird pain kind of in that tendon or like in my toe. Even though like I run and stuff, like I can sprint full speed and not feel any pain, but it's just like randomly it's almost like a ghost pain where it's like just randomly it hurts sometimes. Or if I like turn it funny for too long or something. No, it doesn't ache when it rains. I've heard that before, and I've always wondered, is that like an old wives' tale, or does that kind of stuff actually happen? I think it has to do with the barometric pressure changing, as opposed to like, oh, it's raining. But no, I don't notice any aches or pains when it rains. Oh goodness, Alan, that sounds terrible. Oh, that stinks. You had to miss touring the gallery. Oh, that's awful. I'm telling you, like, it's not until you can't walk all of a sudden that you really appreciate walking. Like, you just, when something like that happens and you suddenly are robbed of an everyday convenience that you take for granted, you realize you're like, wow, I didn't just appreciate walking as much as I should have. Although that's kind of happened to me twice now. Because it was March of last year. Both of my really bad accidents were last year. Last March was when I had the really bad accident falling off of my full speed galloping horse because my cinch came loose and my saddle slid off. That was more of a, I mean, that was an all over injury. Somehow didn't break anything, but that was a major back injury that I had to deal with for a while, and it hurt to walk. And my back would twinge so bad I could barely walk for a while. That was rough. So that happened in March, and then September was the other incident, and I was just like, what is going on? You know, I've ridden horses my whole life and had never had incidents like that, but 2 of them last year. Because I was, and still am, in the process of trying to find my next horse, because I've had, you know, the same one for like 17 years. He's made a miraculous recovery, and I'm actually able to ride him a little bit, but all we can do is like walk mostly, because he is 29 years old, so I'm very careful with him. So yeah, the search for a new horse has not been a fun one. It'd be a whole lot easier if people selling horses were honest, but they're not. I've never been to Moscow, Alan. That would be really, really cool to see all the stuff there. Never been out of the country, actually. I've never even been on a plane, y'all. My whole family, we don't like getting on planes. I've never been on one. I've accepted the inevitable that I will have to get on one at some point, but the whole idea of it just freaks me out a little bit. I like the control, perceived control of being at the steering wheel or someone I trust being at the steering wheel. It's hard for me to deal with the concept of someone else flying me in a plane and I don't know who that person is and what could happen with the weather. Ugh. I think you're right, B-dubs. Now is not the time to go to Moscow. Is there a country I want to visit? There's a lot of countries I would like to visit. Namely Scotland, because of my big like family ancestry there. My family, fun fact, my ancestors actually had a castle in Scotland. Yes, I'm royalty. They had a castle in Scotland. You can look it up. It's called Castle Dunvegan, I think is how you pronounce it. It's D-U-N, and then like the word vegan. Yeah, that was their castle, and it's still there, and it is now a tourist location. So I would love to go there someday. They came from the Isle of Skye, which is like, looks like heaven on earth. It's gorgeous. So yeah, they were the MacLeods, the MacLeod clan. So I would love to go to Scotland and kind of like connect with my family ancestry. But I would also love to go to Italy. I love Italy. The food, the like the cities and the scenery, everything would just be amazing. I love Ireland too. I'd like to go to Ireland. New Zealand would be cool just to visit like all the locations where they filmed Lord of the Rings, favorite movies. A lot of places I would enjoy visiting. Edinburgh. Yeah, I don't know much about Edinburgh. That's the capital of Scotland, isn't it? Okay, yes, it is the capital. Thought so. Yeah, basically when I went way back on my mom's side, it was like a lot of Scottish warriors and clans, and there was a king back there called it was Olaf the Black, King Olaf the Black. But then on my dad's side, when I go way back, it's like Vikings. Very strong, like Scandinavian ancestry. So a cool mixture in there. But my dad, like his later ancestors came over from England, which is obviously where the Thames part came from that became Thames. No, I haven't done a DNA test. I don't want them to have my DNA. That just kind of freaks me out a little, so I've just done my own research through Ancestry.com and through the just family data that I have from people who have already done research in my family. Grandparents and uncles and such. Oh, nice, Alan. So you went to Latvia and Russia. Overnight business trip to Montreal. Cool. Yeah, the UK, Ireland, all that would be so cool. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of chaos in the world right now. It makes me hesitant to do any overseas traveling at the moment. I appreciate it, B-dubs. Viking cheekbones. It was one of my proudest moments, I kid you not. I found an ancestor of mine that was named Gandalf. And if you are a Lord of the Rings fan, you will appreciate that. I was like, are you kidding me? It was crazy. Sorry to hear that, B-dubs. We're certainly having that over here as well. Poor people in Ohio. Are you asking me, Alan, or are you asking B-dubs? I don't know about in Ireland, but they definitely are over here. Which I just can't even fathom. I can't imagine someone coming and taking my dog and eating my dog. I just, it's not debunked, Alan. There's videos, trust me. But I do know there's been a lot of arguing about it. I do know that, about whether it's true or not. But I would definitely say the evidence is there. I saw a video myself, unfortunately, on Twitter the other day of a woman eating a bird. She wasn't eating the bird yet. She was cooking the bird alive in the street. Rather disturbing. Better not talk about anything considered political or YouTube will demonetize me and take my live stream down. They are really funny about that these days. Yeah, correct, B-dubs. They were taking like ducks and geese, I think, out of the pond. So it wasn't pet birds. But yeah, there was one lady who was very upset, saying they killed her cat. Yeah. Correct. Yeah, as far as I know, no pet birds yet. I did hear one story about someone's dog. I don't, I should say I don't know if it was someone's pet dog or like a stray dog, but I believe there was a story about them like cooking the dog on a spit over a fire outside, and have not done my research on that. My mom actually told me that, and I was horrified. But I trust my mom and where she gets her information, so it was probably legit. I am fully content to to stop discussing this subject, Alan. You will not hear any protest from me. The whole thing is rather upsetting. Goodness, y'all, I got so caught up in drawing and talking, I have not even looked at the clock once. Okay, we've got about 50 minutes left. It just hit me. I was like, I haven't looked at the clock. Probably should do that. Although my grumbling stomach is telling me that it will soon be lunchtime. Yeah, Gary, that's always a concern for artists. One of my professors in college had it really bad. Like, I remember she wore like wrist braces on both of her wrists, and that was the first time I kind of like started thinking about it. I was like, oh man, that would be awful to ever like get to a point where you're in pain drawing or painting all the time. That's why I'm very conscious of how much I draw or paint over the course of each day, and like how my arm and hand is feeling. I try not to overwork it because I would like to avoid carpal tunnel at all costs. Yes, in between, I can always react to movies. That's right. Oh, nice, B-dubs. You found some relics from your old graphic design days. That's always nostalgic. You find old projects, and you're either like, oh, that's actually not that bad, or you're like, oh my goodness, I was terrible. Half and half with me. Kneaded rubber erasers and a jar of paper cement, completely solid. Wow. Ellen, oh my gosh. That just made me think of The Thing, like just a glob of things evolving and changing into this horrible monster running around. Truly, probably the most traumatizing movie I will ever react to. I will never forget The Thing. Dog kennel scene, don't get me started. See ya, Gary. Thanks for hanging out. Glad you could make the stream today. Oh gosh, I hope I don't see that running around, Alan, or I'm going to have questions. I do have some exciting rodeo-related news. I have planned a trip for January. I'm going to Fort Worth for the very first time. Been to Texas many times. Always still like visit my dad's side of the family as a kid, but I have never been to Fort Worth, although I have been like driven through it. Never gotten to just stay there and vacation there and explore it, and I'm doing that in January, and I'm really excited about it. Going to the Fort Worth Stock Show and Rodeo. It's going to be so much fun. I'm so excited. It will be by far the biggest rodeo I have ever been to. It's one of the big Texas swing rodeos, which is, there's 5 of them. There's Fort Worth, San Antonio, San Angelo, Austin. Am I forgetting one? Oh, Houston. Those are the 5. And Fort Worth is kind of the big rodeo that really kicks off the year. I'm very excited to get to see it in person. I will be geeking out. I will probably cry, not gonna lie. Thanks, Alan. I'm really looking forward to it. There's so much in Fort Worth to see and do, and I'll only be there for a few days, so I definitely won't get to see it all, but maybe I can go back another year. If I love it enough, I'll just go every year. Or at least try to. Yeah, B-dubs, we got a lot of rain and a lot of, like, strong winds, but that was it. Yeah, we just had what I would call traces of it, B-dubs. But it was strong winds. We always worry about our trees in the area. But none fell this time, thank goodness. There's so much going on in this drawing. I'm used to doing portraits most of the time, and this is a nice challenge for me, having to keep up with all the different things going on in this drawing, all the tack and everything. There's a lot. Yeah, this is definitely not a 2-hour endeavor. What did she snag her shirt sleeve on to make that little tear? I don't think there's a tear, Alan. Let me check. No, I don't think she has a tear in her shirt. There must just be a shadow in the drawing that is looking that way to you. You mean this one? This is a shadow here that I haven't refined yet. Yeah, I can see it looking that way. But yeah, this is just a big fold in the shirt right here. Good question, B-dubs. I don't know. I sold him. I sold him after he bucked me off, so I sold him to a girl who was wanting to use him as a roping horse and a barrel horse. So, that is what he's doing now. Hopefully he's doing well. And yes, she knew his history. She knew what he had done and all of that, and she was okay with that. He was super young. He was only 4 years old when I got him, so he still had lots of maturing and growing to do. I know, B-dubs, another heartbreaking story of Madison trying to find a new horse that didn't work out. Yeah. It stinks. I liked him. Until he broke my toe, and then I was mad. That is the experience, though. You're not glad it happened, but you can appreciate the lessons you learned from it. Kind of is one of those kind of moments, because that was the first time I've ever been. I've talked about this before, but that was the first time I've ever been on a horse that was really bucking. I've been on lots of horses that have crow hopped, which is different and very easy to ride through if you know what you're doing. They're more little like hops where they're kind of all 4 feet off the ground and they're not really going diagonal with like their butt really high up in the air, so it's much easier to ride. Maverick that day went full rodeo bronc. I mean, yeah. And that was the first time I had ever experienced that, and it gave me a whole new appreciation for rodeo cowboys. Riding those bucking horses, because that is a whole nother level. You cannot imagine until you experience it, the full like horsepower and the power in each kick. It's like you feel it wrenching in your back when you're trying to ride it. Woo. B-dubs, they are mostly full grown, but not completely. I would say it takes about 5 years to get full grown. And they can even keep developing a couple years beyond that. But yeah, I would say 5 more is when they're like full grown. Ellen, you went riding a couple times in your younger days. Yeah, that's how most trail rides are. Like when you visit, I don't know about dude ranches. I've never been to a dude ranch, but like when you visit places, like when we went to Wyoming and we did a trail ride, that's how it was, just walking in line. No like steering really even required. You're just kind of sitting there and the horse is following the horse in front of him. That's definitely what you want to do with beginner riders, is put them on older horses, because they have the experience, the training, and they're way less likely to run off with you and do anything dangerous. You never think about how many buckles and leather straps and things there are on tech until you start drawing them. I really like doing pieces like this every now and then that are completely like minimalist on the background. Like I'm not planning on doing anything with this, just leaving it blank because it actually is in the photograph. And it just struck me how the rider and horse just kind of stand out against a really just plain simple background. I love it. Oh, no worries, Alan. Yes, B-dubs. I think that is how it was spelled. I'd have to look back at it. I believe that's correct, yes. Haven't looked at it in a good long while. Oh, interesting. So was the show called McLeod, or was that just his name? Haven't been to New Mexico in 10 years. Maybe 9 years, 9 or 10 years. I get my two Old West trips mixed up. I think it was 10 years ago. My trip in 2014. Yeah, I loved New Mexico. Would love to go back. Oh, okay, it was set in modern times. Did not realize. Okay, so it's the name of the show and the main character. Gotcha. I love that. Scenes of him riding his horse down Manhattan streets. That's a juxtaposition, if you've ever seen one. You know, I won't be finishing this today, but we have made a lot of progress. I will probably be able to finish it tomorrow. Scottish duo, the Proclaimers. 500 Miles. Song in the first Shrek movie called I'm on My Way. Okay. Well, I've definitely seen Shrek. They're not in a very long time. Yeah, I need to check them out. I'm always finding new music to listen to because I'm always listening to music, so I like switching things up every now and then. Twin brothers. I love it. That's awesome that you got to see them, B-dubs. Oh my gosh, I was so jealous of this fellow YouTuber that I follow on Instagram. She's not a movie reactor or anything. She is an author who does videos about writing and all that kind of stuff. But she went to the Hans Zimmer concert in Boston. I think it was either yesterday or the day before. And I was like, oh my gosh, because Hans Zimmer is my favorite composer and I've been dying to see him in concert for so long. But he's not coming anywhere close to me on this year's tour that he's doing. He's like either East Coast or West Coast. And then like the only one even remotely close to me is Chicago, which is not at all close to me. It's like 11 hours away. And I was just like, dang it. I want to go see Hans Zimmer so bad, but he was too far away again. There was one year he came to Georgia, I think, and I didn't find out about it until after the fact, and I was like, dang it, he was only a couple of hours away. But oh my gosh, if I ever get to see Hans Zimmer in concert, I will just be like crying for 2 hours straight. Yeah, I'll have to, B-dubs, because I must see Hans Zimmer in concert at some point, because he ain't getting any younger. And I'm always afraid he's gonna like quit touring before I can see him, and that'll be so sad. I mean, there is just no one for me who has more iconic soundtracks because there's so many of them. It's like most of my favorite movies that I can think of, apart from Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, Hans Zimmer's done them all. Like The Lion King, I mean, like the Batman movies, Mission Impossible, Braveheart. He did Braveheart, right? No. Ooh, I can't remember on Braveheart, but I think he did Gladiator and like The Last Samurai. I mean, he just did everything. Did I mention The Lion King? That one's one of my favorites. I don't think he did Braveheart. Who did that one? That was, shoot. Can't remember his name. I think it was the same guy who did Titanic, did Braveheart. And for some reason, his name has just gone out of my brain. Jerry Goldsmith, yeah, he does good, very good soundtracks as well. James Horner, that's who I was trying to come up with. I don't know why, I just completely forgot his name. Yeah, he did Braveheart and Titanic. And many, many others. The man was immensely gifted at making you cry with his music. Speaking of amazing scores, how about To Kill a Mockingbird? That score just, woo, had me in the feels yesterday. It was amazing, just the atmosphere and emotion it created. Yes, Elmer Bernstein? I don't know which way to say it, but yes. All right, guys, it is 1 o'clock, so I'm going to wrap up the stream. Great conversation, guys, today. I hope y'all enjoyed the drawing as well. Always so much fun talking with y'all. The drawing process just flies by when I get to talk with you guys, so thanks for hanging out today. It was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and I will see you guys next Wednesday, Lord willing, for another drawing live stream. And I'll see you guys Friday for John Wick Chapter 2. See you guys then.